The convention scene has grown massively in the past 20 years. What makes a Comic-Con? In this documentary, we hear from fans, from people who work behind the scenes, and from some of the actors. Is it the meet and greets, the cosplay, the panels, or meeting new friends that makes conventions, signings, and Comic-Cons? We also take a look at how the Comic-Con industry will be changing coming out of lockdown. We spoke to a few convention fans to get their perspective of their first experience of going to a Comic-Con and how exactly they found out about it.
The first one I did was the Doctor Who festival in 2015. Then the first proper convention, you could call it, I went to was in 2017, which was LFCC, which is probably, the biggest one in England. And that was like a baptism of fire.
It was the official Doctor Who one in Cardiff. And I owned an ad for ages about that one because it was £99. But it was one of those ones where I think most of your autographs were included.
I found this thing about Supernatural convention. I used to be obsessed with Supernatural, still am. And I was just so excited because I was like, whoa, this is a thing.
And I just thought, right, I might book a ticket to that because I was about to turn 30 in September. I thought, this is what I want to do before I'm 30.
I was so excited. And I went, and it was a terrible experience.
What is the main point of focus that captivates and draws people to these conventions?
I'm an autograph collector. I like taking pictures with the actors that I really enjoy their performances or them as people.
I'd say the guests a little bit more, because then I like to say, I'll book a photo shoot, I'll book a diamond pass with those guests.
For example, I went to London. There has to be something there. So quite recently, it was all about talking to Hasbro and getting to know them.
It was just about meeting the guests. And I think I would normally go with one friend, or, I sort of had a couple of friends. Because when I first started going to conventions, Doctor Who wasn't anywhere as big as it was now. It is now, because it wasn't even on air, I think, for a lot of the time I was going to conventions. So it'd be me and perhaps a couple of friends who still were into the show. And it was just about meeting the celebrities and stuff, and then coming home.
What brought me back was, seeing my friends and getting to meet people that I've only interacted with online. And this was really our chance to come together and meet each other and just hang out.
But I go for my friends, because I always like the drinks afterwards. The drinks afterwards is the best part, because you get to chill with your friends, you reflect over the weekend, each brother shows their photo shoots, autographs. It's just a nice vibe at the end.
But now it's now it's definitely a more social thing. But I think, and YouTube's played a massive part of that, because a lot of the people I know are Doctor Who fans I've met through YouTube. And when you go to convention, you just see each other, and it might even be someone that you've only sort of been talking to on Twitter for a year that you've never met, and suddenly you're there at a convention chatting to them as if you've known them for forever. So there is a massive social element to the conventions, which I absolutely love.
What is it about cosplay that makes people want to dress up as their favourite character?
I have dabbled in cosplay. I wouldn't say that I'm definitely not a professional. I've made a homemade alien outfit, which was hilarious.
I've done the 13th Doctor 3 times now, and it's gradually getting a little bit better each time.
I've cosplayed the 3rd Doctor. So I've got a frilly shirt, velvet jacket, bow tie, and I even put grey hair wax in as well. Just go to that effort.
But if you're going to be in cosplay, then chances are you're going to end up talking to people.
It's a conversation starter. You see other people with the same cosplay as you, and you're like, hey.
For a certain amount of time, you kind of fit in with a lot of people, where people would come up and be like, oh my God, can I take a photo of you?
Many people are willing to travel to different parts of the world to attend signing events. However, is this solely to meet the guests, or is it also for the social aspect?
I had a week in England, in the UK, last year in September for my 21st birthday.
I went to LA 3 years ago to go to RuPaul's DragCon.
The day that I arrived, I think Tom Baker was announced for this London Film Fair on the Sunday, and I was due to fly out sort of Saturday morning, I think. So I was like, damn, I missed it.
I got to meet RuPaul, and for me at that stage in time, that was just, I don't get very starstruck meeting people because I've met quite a few. But with RuPaul, it was a whole, I had to go and sit in a corner for 10 minutes and sort of calm myself down, because every time I tried to think, I just burst out into tears because it's RuPaul.
My friends Ellie and Sophie were both planning to go. And so I was, sort of kicking myself. But halfway through the week, I decided I'd do something about it. And I contacted my travel agent in Australia and said, can you please cancel my return flight and book me another one 2 days after the fact? And she thought I was crazy, and I suppose I was in a way.
Not everyone who goes to conventions loves the whole experience. We talked to someone who has a different take.
I don't even remember my last convention. I think I've been to 5 in my entire life. But yeah, like, I was meaning guests in that because I have had that negative experience when I was younger, and it kind of ruined my enjoyment of the character that they played. It kind of puts me off meeting guests. It puts me off meeting people I really admire, because, at the end of the day, they're people just like you and me, and, they do things, and, you meet these people and you meet them for like 10 seconds. You go up to them, you say, hi, how are you? I'm a big fan. And then you're out, and you've got that 15 seconds to make an impression on someone. And it's sometimes when you meet someone, sometimes you just rub someone up the wrong way, and vice versa. It just happens. And, those 15 seconds can kind of change how you're a fan of the show.
With a large amount of attendees transitioning to the volunteering side of conventions, we look more in depth at the reasons as to why they went from being a regular Comic-Con goer to a volunteer. What are the main differences?
I think sometimes when you go as an attendee, I don't think you really realise quite, A, how much hard work it is putting on a convention, and B, how hard it can be actually working at a convention, because you have to basically crowd control thousands of people during a day.
It gives me a job to do, and it keeps me away from the shiny things. And obviously when you crew, you kind of see the backstage areas, and you feel that you're a part of something bigger.
Well, you are the face, essentially, of the convention. So if anything little goes wrong or they get annoyed, then they take it all out on you. And obviously where you're not a permanent member of staff, you're just there as a volunteer to help out.
And when you get to interact with the attendees and they've had a really good day and you've managed to help them meet their hero or something, it's really cool,
Convention organisers face many challenges in organising an event. What are the biggest obstacles to overcome? And what is it that makes them do it in the first place?
I always tried to make sure there was a hook, something that you wanted to do and something that I wanted to put on. I didn't want to put on a makeup convention. I have no interest in makeup. I'm not going to do a convention about makeup. I'm going to do it about toys, about something that I'm passionate about. Because if you're doing something just for the money, you're never going to have a really good show. And those guys come and go because they don't have passion.
They're always done for love. And occasionally I've done some professional ones arranged by big organizations. And I'd always been relatively appalled by the lack of organization and the sort of appalling technology involved with the microphones and loads of howl around and people kicking things and falling over or not arriving on time, but poor communication. So I was, and also things being scheduled badly with not enough time for people to get from one thing to another. So when we started doing Big Finish Day, I just thought I would, as it were, put my money where my mouth was. So I allowed 15-minute gaps between each panel, also so people could go and buy CDs, which is very important, and just stuff like that, and making sure that we got the best people to do things.
With there being such a large variety and amount of conventions happening within the UK and around the globe, is the convention circuit getting oversaturated?
Definitely before COVID, we were reaching a saturation point, which is why I was always trying to make different type of events.
I don't think there is, because you'll find out that there'll be a small con down in Brighton or there'll be a convention up in Scotland. And it's, they're always very well spaced apart.
And people want to go do something on the weekend. Like, what are you going to do every weekend? Are you going to go to the movies? Are you going to go shopping? Are you going to go to eat? Are you going to go to a park? Or are you going to go to an event? And so I try to make events that you wanted to go to.
We spoke to some actors who were considerate enough to sit down with us and give us their own personal perspectives of going to conventions and how they feel when meeting their fans.
A childhood friend of mine who I haven't seen like for years, I reconnected with him and we were just having sushi, hanging out. And he was like, "So you're a Power Ranger?" I was like, "Yeah, man." He's like pretty geeked out about that. I was excited too. And this has been many years after we've already, this is probably in like 2008, 2000, maybe even later than that. I want to say maybe 2012.
It was 17 cities in 17 days. This was my first experience. And we were playing like huge venues, and it was with Terrence Dix. And I've never forgotten, I walked across the stage and looked at it. It was almost like a, great big arena. And I said, "Hello." And everybody started to cheer. And it was like, what happens if I say goodbye? That's what happens when I say hello.
He was like, "Yeah, do you do conventions?" And I was like, "What?" I was like, "What is that? What is a convention?" He's like, "Yeah, man, people like, just you meet and greet with fans and like they pay you for your autograph to take pictures with you and stuff." And I was like, "What?" Like that whole world was so foreign to me. It was unknown to me. I had no idea.
There are so many extraordinary stories and backgrounds that some of these people have had, and you want to show care and compassion because you've been given this opportunity to do so. And I do that on Twitter, as you probably know, and in every way I can. I put my hand out. I want to help anybody I can, and I want to give them that very special moment. I mean, I think it's important. It means a lot to me. And so many of the people that I've met are like more than fans. They become sort of friends.
During lockdown, fans showed that they were determined on keeping fandoms alive. Which then brings up the question, can Comic-Cons only be great to experience in person, or can an online convention be just as enjoyable?
What we were trying to do is create as close as possible the kind of environment and experience you might have at a physical in-person convention.
This has kind of allowed us, as weird as it may seem, because we're all so far apart, it's allowed us to come closer together.
Time space visualizing things that they did were brilliant. And again, it felt very social because you had the comment screen at the side, so everyone was chatting, saying, "Oh, I was at that event," and "Oh, Deborah was lovely," and "Oh, have you seen this Patrick Trout story? It's brilliant. Deborah's great." And, so there was, again, a very social thing to it.
We had a lot of fans who were willing to volunteer and tell us about their favourite ever Big Finish adventures. And that was an idea from Kenny Smith, who's the editor of Big Finish's Vortex magazine. And he got in touch with lots of people, and it meant that it wasn't just Big Finish sort of broadcasting at you. It was sort of had a bit more of a family feel.
Like the interaction with people is very different, and I appreciate people doing them on like the Zooms and like live streaming stuff. And that's probably the best way, kind of bringing the like Q&As right to your home.
I do think while it's good and it sort of keeps everyone's spirits up, it's not a replacement, I think.
To be honest with you, I would have liked to have included Big Finish listeners more in it. I think if we'd have had more time, we probably would have been able to do a few more things where we would have had listener involvement. And it's a shame, but there's always the next time.
Like we were still, every so often we'd go into the Zoom call and watch the videos. So there was still that sense of community, even if you weren't all sitting in the same room together. So it just, I think, for that stage of time, that was the way forward, and that was the best way to do it.
You try to connect, but I feel very little connection. I'm not a lover of doing this. I'm missing that human connection.
As the world is slowly coming out of lockdown, conventions are beginning to start up again. On the 26th of July, Phantom Films held a small convention. We spoke to members of staff who attended the intimate gathering.
There are a lot of convention organisers out there at the moment who can't feel like they can, keep going at the moment. Whereas the regular signing events for Phantom are essentially in a church hall. And so the moment that the government says, okay, events in church halls can take place, that's your green light to go, okay, how can I do this? How can I make this work? How can I make this safe? How can I keep sort of like the intimacy of somebody coming to a church hall in Chiswick and having a few moments with someone that they've grown up watching?
We've made them slightly smaller still, staggered entry, distancing happens. There's one way round that hall, you follow the line, you meet the actors you get to meet, yes, slightly at a distance. If you want a selfie, you're not going to be hugging them, but they're still very much on board for doing that, with them at one end of a table and you at the other, a couple of meters away.
Your desks are sideways on, you turn them that way. So you have that natural 2-meter gap between you and the guest. The photo studio, we did have long conversations about how to do this, and I experimented with different things. And then Phantom said, well, we're going to see about props. So we have this great customer called Thomas Seymour, who does a lot of cosplay. He has a lot of props. And because of the relationships that you build up, or that Phantom had built up with him, they were able to talk to him, and he was like, yeah, please borrow this. So we had this TARDIS come down. We placed it in the entrance because what we needed was a lot of fresh air. So essentially, we have this entrance lobby with 2 huge, great big double doors, one side of the TARDIS, 2 great big double doors, the other side of the TARDIS.
So although you very briefly, what you won't see in the photograph is that masks are taken off very briefly. The photograph happens, masks go straight back on.
And the one-way system, which meant that your guest or the customer came in, looked towards the camera, we did the whole smile thing, and then went off the other side.
There can be many standout moments from going to conventions. We ask attendees about their favourite memory.
My dad is a big old school Doctor Who fan. So being able to see him meet the people that were his childhood heroes, and people who I hold in high esteem because I'm a fanboy as much as that, and just seeing your parents sort of going back to what they were like when they were a kid, and you being able to have that relatable moment and just seeing that, it's hugely rewarding.
Just from meeting a Power Rangers actor was Polly Schreier, who played Bulk. And it was a convention in Michigan. And it was so great because I got there a little bit too late, and his line was actually cut off. And this was what was great about it. It was a smaller convention, and they just happened to have like Polly Schreier. They had Walter Jones there, and they didn't even have like a table set up. It was just kind of like in this balcony area of the second floor of the hotel lobby, and they just kind of roped things off, and it was just like a standing meet and greet. You could get an autograph if you wanted, and it was a little bit more informal. And I got there just as they had closed off the line, and I just said, please, can I just get in this line? I've traveled all this way to get here, and this is the only time to meet to Paul at the time. And so he was super gracious. He was very nice with everyone. He saw me. I was literally the last person that he saw, and went in to, take a picture with him. And he was like, wow, you smell really nice. And we had like this joke about it because he's like, at conventions, not everyone,
LFCC 2018, like meeting all the doctors, like it was a mad rush, but it was like the best experience ever.
Some of the best memories of doing conventions is meeting your heroes. Whether that's an artist, a voice actor, a regular actor, getting to meet those people where you've enjoyed their media for so long, and you finally get to meet them in person and say, hey, I love what you've done. It's made a difference in my life. Thank you very much. And the ability to say that to that person in person is my favorite thing about events. Absolutely.
From guest signings to the family aspect of conventions, It's evident that these events mean a considerable amount to a lot of individuals. What is it that they attend for? Well, it's really entirely up to the individual. But one thing that's clear with not only the fans, but also the guests, is that the large community feels as if they are one big family. Hopefully, it won't be long until a convention near you can go ahead again.
Here we go again. Oh, oh, oh.